Javed Abdi Foundation, JAF, which also stands for Journalism, Advocacy and Fun. Please subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, like, comment, and share.
Okay. Sir, okay. So, what are some organizations that conduct data-based research around people with disabilities? Apart from census, are there any organizations that use data to inform policy decisions on services or on schemes? Or what support is there for such organizations that collect data and also use the data in making policies?
So census is not using the data themselves. They are like somebody who's feeding into the system for the rest of the government and the rest of the ecosystem. So this data is used by ministries in different ways, and many most of the ministries also are capturing data. So if they have a reservation, for instance, I mentioned about Narega. Now that is an initiative under rural development. So they are also capturing data on disability. Having said that, there are many places where there are data, where there are benefits or reservations for disability, and yet they are not capturing data. So we, as a more aware citizen, I think we need to kind of work with the government to make sure that they include disability in their MIS and ask the right question to include people with disability.
So just to one last question to both the panelists. We've talked a lot about data, the different types of data, where can we get the data, the sources, literally everything under the sun about data, and even the lack of data for that matter. But and even the importance of data. But once you get this data, what do you do with it? If you are able to find, let's say, some golden data or like any data whatsoever that you want to do advocacy with it, advocacy strategy aapki kya honi chahiye? I would first like to ask Vaishnavi ma'am, and then I'll ask the same question to Ankit sir. If you get the data, you have everything you need, you have the evidence, then how do you do advocacy? What should be your next steps? Aapko kya lagta hai as activists, as disability rights activists, please?
Make it, data has to be made to work. There's no point in it otherwise. So information is a byproduct, but unless it works, it's of no use to us. So I'd still say that as far as advocacy goes, a really strong thrust should be to do a kind of survey or social audit, or capture information on how well schemes are doing, whatever programs that are being rolled out, even if it's not, if it's some mainstream issue and not a disability issue, push, if it's anything socio-economic, push that, there is a social audit done, and the information from that social audit is like, let's say, the CAG audits made available to everybody in an accessible, open and public way. That for one could give us direct feedback as to how exactly things are working or not working, and whether
Thank you. It was a very helpful session.
I think that would be the biggest advantage to us right now, and I don't really see why it shouldn't be possible, because if you really look at research and data and disability, you find a mismatch between what is happening, what is available, and what can be used. So if what is available can be, kind of data can be, forced through that as a mandatory thing of, if you're having a scheme, make sure that you have a beginning survey, you make sure you have an end survey and a periodical thing, and push that information out in an accessible way so that everybody knows how the scheme is doing, and you make more informed decisions about whether it's working well, not well, should we expand it, should we reduce it, should we go for something else which seems to be more popular. That data itself would be really valuable. Yeah, Ankit.
Ankit sir.
So I think, and I'll just be very pragmatic right now, and I'll just take your question in the most literal way. You said, if I, happen to get into some data, what should I do? I think one is, if you are passionate for the cause, I think what you could do is, one, you could of course blog about it. You could reach out to media, and if you could write an article, see if you're a journalist can kind of write a piece, or you could write an
From Sami
opinion
Copy to everyone.
article
Oh, yes, sir. Let's
so that it is disseminated. If you're not passionate about that cause, so because data could be, really so much in, not every, we have to pick our own both own battles. I may not be passionate about, say, making accessible toilets, or accessible transport, or whatever that may be. So then I think it's important to again reach out to groups like these, check who are the people who are working in that area, and share that data with them so that they can take it forward. But at the very least, if you have the bandwidth, I would suggest if you have a data and if you think there is a issue, always, you could always just send an email to, or a letter to the secretaries, or the member, the joint secretaries of the concerned department, saying you found this and you think this thing can be done. So I think these are some of the things that you could instantly do with some of the data. And if you are into working on a cause, and if you think your data is not there, and then I think you need to create, then work on creating some of this data then.
One last question to Vaishnavi ma'am, because and Ankit sir, is कि COVID-19 इतनी बड़ी मतलब महामारी है, या इतने सारे issues हो रहे हैं, and has the data on disability that is present right now in India, has it helped in any which way to combat, or is it not enough at all, and how big is the gap, if there is a gap?
It's not been taken into consideration at all.
share to everyone. Colon,
There's
so
no
Okay.
time to. That's the problem, because even the form that we created, which which would allow a person with a disability to kind of say exactly what kind of help is needed, etc., which we were kind of hopeful that at least some part of it, people manning helplines and things like that, would be able to record all of that. Nobody has the time. So there's one bunch of people who are on the ground, who literally are just doing things in their own way. Nobody has the time to check on data and then get back. That's zero. But one thing which I've been thinking for a while, as a result of COVID, there's a lot of data being generated. And just today I was discussing, apparently iWay is also running a helpline. There's so many mental health helplines which are happening. Surely, I've not again researched it, but surely there should be some way in which all the people doing this world over really should be pushing out data which is anonymized on what are the kind of concerns people have. So we do not infringe on people's privacy. We do not, kind of mess around on the ethical side of things. But we do say that, okay, let's say of all the calls which came to the helpline, 99% of them were about this issue. In Tamil Nadu, it's been mostly about rations and not having enough and that kind of thing. But even otherwise, it's been such a learning experience as to the kind of difficulties people are facing. That information should really be pushed out. The thing is that the people working on the ground don't have the time. Each of them is just capturing information their own way. And I don't think it would be fair or practical enough really to ask them for getting more information or doing things in a particular way. But there is this whole group of people who are not working on the ground, who are kind of more tech oriented. The whole mapping community, the open data community, the tech community, who are at home with an Excel spreadsheet. Who would be able to, take whatever anonymized data is being given to you, all in different formats, and make some kind of sense and unify it in some way, present it to people for use in the now and in the future. That is something which we should really get moving, because there's so much to learn and act on even now.
Definitely.
It would be wishful of us to think that, okay, next time we would be, this will come into use next time. As far as COVID is concerned, I think even now, as in the next 2 months, a lot of this information could be used. Every time we have a disaster, we collect the same information, and somehow, things don't get, really captured and used by first responders and things like that in future. There's one idea which I had, which I really need to bounce this off some tech people. There is something in the government called the Digi Locker,
Yes.
where you upload and keep, let's say your 12th standard certificate, your, any kind of identity proof, etc., is kept, so that, let's say, in a disaster situation, you would still have that as a backup, even if there's floods and it all gets swept away or ruined because of damp, etc. You still have a copy of it on your DigiLocker. Now, I don't know what the how many Indians are actually using that. Possibilities are for people who are not on the internet, etc. But even for the people who are, I was just thinking that this would be a good way of us controlling information about ourselves, which can be used by government or National Disaster Management Authority, State Disaster Management Authority, in which, like I say, that I am a person who would probably need priority rescue because I'm a spinal cord injured, okay? And let's say if there are floods, I'm not going to be able to get out by my own, and I have various other health issues, etc. So I need rescue. Instead of each time, putting out that information and, making distress calls, your cell battery will be going off and then you're trapped. And meanwhile, whatever call you made is circulating on social media for 2 decades and nobody will, still act on it because there's just so much of information. And again, the people on the ground, which is all your state disaster management, your revenue department, all the various people, don't have the time to check on things and all of that. Each person is just doing whatever is coming their way because that's how it is in a crisis. But this way, at least it would be on demand. I could say, for example, that I am in need of a particular medicine, or if there is some kind of crisis or lockdown or shutdown, I am a person who is oxygen dependent, and somehow the state needs to make sure that my oxygen cylinder supply does not get cut off as a result of whatever is happening. That information I would still be able to control if at some point of time I no longer need the oxygen, or if I need more oxygen, or if there are other issues that I would like to flag, that these are the things on which I need help. I think it would be possible in something like a DigiLocker situation, in which case then the government has its information already. Whoever's there, it's secure, it's kind of anonymous. You just pull in that information and you automatically know, where a person is living, who needs rescue, who needs a particular medicine, who needs oxygen cylinders, who needs what kind of blood, and that information is all there.
Definitely.
So that's my mega idea. I don't know if it will work, but yeah, that's the idea for the day.
Sir, बताइए इस पे.
I think वैष्णवी ने अगेन बहुत सारा कवर कर दिया. मैं ये सोच रहा हूँ कि क्या रह गया है. आई थिंक हर एक पॉइंट जो वैष्णवी ने बोला उससे मैं पूरा का पूरा अग्री करता हूँ. हमें बहुत जरूरी है कि आई थिंक अगर मैं रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली बात करूं तो एक मिस्ड अपॉर्चुनिटी है. RPWDA एक्ट में भी था कि नेशनल डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट एंड स्टेट डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट अथॉरिटीज will collect data. Will collect data of people with disability. They should have complete information. But वो नहीं हुआ, and today we very well know, because now when we are in a time of disaster, we do not have that right data. So एक वो opportunity, I think definitely a lost opportunity है. I think मैं बहुत अग्री करता हूँ वैष्णवी से जब वो बोलती है कि जो हम लोग अभी रियल टाइम डेटा जो भी हम हमारे लेवल पे भी जनरेट कर सकते हैं उसको भी पब्लिक डोमेन में डालना, भले वो स्ट्रेस कॉल्स के बारे में हो, हाईवे या कोई भी अदर हेल्प डेस्क के ऊपर जा रहा है. I think they all should also start releasing that data, भले ही वो राशन पे हो या किसी भी चीज के लिए हो. एटलीस्ट मालूम तो पड़े कि विकलांगजनों को किस चीज की दिक्कतें सबसे ज्यादा हो रही है और सरकार उसके ऊपर फिर फोकस करे. तो ये भी बहुत जरूरी एस्पेक्ट है. And I think to reach more people with disability, I think we need to get more creative as far as tapping on data sources. Of course, अभी डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट केस नहीं है. वैष्णवी ने बताया इलेक्शन के पास काफी सारा डेटा है, बट काफी सारे स्टेट में वो लोग ने भी सेंसस से ही डेटा लिया हुआ है, तो वो भी एक प्रॉब्लम. बट डेफिनेटली यू कुड रीच आउट टू इलेक्शंस. इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में एटीसी एटीयू पे आपको बेनिफिट मिलते हैं. उनसे पूछिए कि भाई आप कहाँ पे है विकलांग लोग. और पेंशनर्स है, यानी बहुत सारे अलग अलग जगहों पे डेटा तो है. अगर आप चाहो, सरकार सीरियस है तो फिर डेटा टैप इन कर सकते हो. बट वी नीड टू मेक श्योर दैट नाउ आवर डेटा स्टार्ट टॉकिंग टू ईच अदर. जो वैष्णवी ने डिजिटल लॉकर वाला आइडिया दिया वो भी बहुत अमेजिंग है, बिकॉज उसका जो फंडामेंटल लिंकिंग है वो आधार से है. So you can only open up a DigiLocker if you have an Aadhaar, and you can then save all your data documents there. It's a great thing, and I think it can really be a great resource for many of these things. But of course, Aadhaar से related और बाकी जो भी चीज की information related से जो privacy है वो सारे इधर भी valid है, तो हमें वो सब चीज का भी ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा. But definitely great ideas that we need to look at it. And अभी मैं क्या बोलूँ, I think जो information मिलता है उसको share करिए. अपने ऑफ कोर्स ये सारे जो इश्यूज हैं उसको हाईलाइट भी जरूर करिए. आई थिंक भले वो चिट्ठी लिख के, आर्टिकल लिख के, ब्लॉग्स लिख के, जो भी है, बट आई थिंक वी शुडंट मिस आउट ऑन दोस अपॉर्चुनिटी टू मेक द रेलेवेंट नॉइस आल्सो ऑन दिस.
JAF is a youth-led initiative. We deeply appreciate the support of all our interns and volunteers. Thank you. You can follow us on Facebook at Javed Abdi Foundation, and you can tweet us at Rishad Shamir.